Every year, countless people go missing, but some disappear in ways that leave even the experts baffled.
He said that this group of men, who he thought were either Russian or locals, so Bulgarians, had attacked him, and he was convinced that they had been sent after him.
From last seen footage to shocking clues, and people vanishing from the face of the earth.
We've all shared a gut feeling that's never gone away, that she's still alive and she's still out there. And what we believe is that Amy was trafficked.
These unsolved missing person cases have gone on for years, and no one knows what happened to them.
Today marks 7 years since Indiana University student Lauren Spierer disappeared in Bloomington. And despite thousands of tips, we still don't know what happened to her.
What happened to Amy Bradley? She's a young woman who disappeared on a cruise 28 years ago while vacationing with her family. Did she fall overboard in a tragic accident? Was she kidnapped and sold to a human trafficking ring?
She was seen sleeping on a cruise ship balcony, and by morning, she was gone while the ship was approaching port. Amy Lynn Bradley from Virginia disappeared on March 24, 1998, aboard the Rhapsody of the Seas near Curacao. She had spent the night dancing at the ship's nightclub and was last seen around 5:30 a.m. on the balcony of her family's cabin. By approximately 6 a.m., she was no longer there. Her sandals and cigarettes were left behind, and there were no signs of struggle. The ship docked shortly after, allowing passengers to disembark before a full search was completed.
We've all shared a gut feeling that's never gone away, that she's still alive and she's still out there. And what we believe is that Amy was trafficked.
Crew members and a band performer were later considered persons of interest, and there were reported sightings in the Caribbean in the years that followed, but none were confirmed.
More than 2 decades later, Amy Bradley's case is considered to be one of the most baffling missing persons cases in modern history.
Empty yacht. He left on a private sailing trip and was never heard from again, leaving friends and family with only questions. Bison Dele, formerly known as Brian Williams, was a 33-year-old former NBA player from Fresno, California, United States. He disappeared in July 2002 during a voyage across the South Pacific aboard his catamaran. He was accompanied by his girlfriend, his brother, and the ship's captain. The yacht was later found abandoned near Tahiti with personal belongings on board, but none of the passengers were present. Police were quick to assume there was foul play involving those on board, pointing to his brother, who was later found deceased along with the captain. Bison Dele's body was never recovered, and the circumstances of his disappearance remain unexplained. Last walk home. At 4:12 a.m., a camera recorded Iwona Wieczorek walking alone along a coastal path, only minutes from home. But not only did she never arrive home, she also mysteriously disappeared. The 19-year-old from Gdańsk, Poland, had been out with friends on July 16, 2010, before deciding to walk back alone from the Jelitkovo area. CCTV showed her carrying her belongings, with no visible signs of distress. In one sequence, an unidentified man was seen walking behind her at a distance, later referred to as a potential witness. She never reached home, which was less than a short walk away. Searches were carried out across nearby areas, including coastal routes and wooded sections, but nothing has ever been found. One small frame.
Well, Sunday marked 18 years since a case that shocked this city, the disappearance of 24-year-old Kyle Fleischman. He was last seen November 9, 2007 in Uptown, outside the Buckhead Saloon, now known as Fitzgerald's.
All it took for Kyle Fleischman to disappear forever was one small gap in surveillance footage. At just the right age of 24, Kyle from Charlotte, North Carolina, disappeared after a night out with friends in the Uptown area. On the 9th of November, 2007, he left a bar alone around 2:20 a.m. CCTV later showed him walking several blocks away, appearing steady and aware of his surroundings. His phone activity continued briefly before stopping. Despite multiple cameras in the area, his movements were not captured after a certain point, leaving a gap detectives could not explain. And that single frame has made this one of the most mysterious human vanishing of America.
I just think he was a victim of a robbery, and it must have got bad, and they took his life. There's condos now, which we tend to believe he might have been buried under there, because at the time it was just open dirt that they were digging for the pipe.
The 9/11 mystery. A doctor was last seen shopping the night before one of the most devastating events in history, and after that, Sneha Ann Phillip was never seen again. The 31-year-old physician from New York City was last confirmed on September 10, 2001, at a Century 21 store near the World Trade Center around 7 p.m. Surveillance showed her purchasing items and leaving alone. She never returned home, and her husband reported her missing the next day. Investigators considered whether she may have been in or near the World Trade Center during the 9/11 incident, but there was no direct evidence confirming her presence there. Despite years of investigation, no confirmed sightings or remains have been found, and her disappearance remains unresolved. Disappearance of Lars Mittank. At just 28 years of age, a man from Germany, Lars Mittank, ran out of the airport and was never seen again. He disappeared on July 8, 2014, at Varna Airport in Varna after a holiday trip with friends. Lars had traveled to the Golden Sands resort area with a group, but shortly before their scheduled return, he was involved in an incident that reportedly led to an ear injury. Due to medical advice, he was told not to board the same flight as his friends and stayed behind to recover. Lars checked into a separate hotel and remained in contact with his mother, expressing concern that he felt unsafe and believed he was being followed. He visited a doctor at the airport on the day of his planned departure, where he underwent a brief examination and was cleared to fly. While waiting inside the airport terminal, surveillance footage showed Lars behaving in a visibly agitated manner before suddenly leaving his belongings behind and running out of the building. The footage captured him exiting the terminal and moving toward a nearby wooded area, which became the last confirmed sighting of him. Authorities initiated search efforts in the surrounding areas, but no trace of Lars was found. His personal items, including his phone, wallet, and passport, were left inside the airport. Some have said that paranoia got to him, but that still doesn't explain why no evidence of Lars has ever been found. What do you think? Maura Murray. How can a non-fatal car crash lead to someone disappearing without a trace? That is the question that confused police officers and terrified everyone else. Maura Murray was a 21-year-old nursing student from Massachusetts who disappeared on February 9th, 2004.
You recall the last time that you spoke with her?
Yes, 3:21 on Saturday before she disappeared. And she called me from UMass, and she was car shopping with my dad. And she told me about a couple of the cars that she liked. And that was the last phone call.
She left her college without notice, and she was last seen driving on Route 112 near Haverhill, where she lost control and crashed her vehicle into a snowbank. Passers-by stopped to investigate and called 911, but even after witnesses saw her, by the time authorities arrived, she was gone. Her wallet, phone, and personal items were all in the car. Police speculated that due to a possible concussion, she wandered into the woods and lost her way, but no evidence of her was ever found.
If you look at a map, Burlington, Vermont, and Bartlett, New Hampshire, the two places she researched, are very different geographical locations. It's unclear where she was going, and she didn't tell anybody. And no one's come forward saying, hey, we had this plan to meet up. And so that's just been something that has weighed on my family heavily for 2 decades, because if we could figure out that piece of the puzzle, maybe we could finish the rest of the puzzle.
I have a theory. What if a passerby saw her state and took her away? Where to, however, is a totally different question. Alien abduction? Frederick Valentich was 20 when he disappeared in October of 1978, but it's his last recording that has disturbed people till this day. While flying a Cessna 182 over the Bass Strait between Melbourne and King Island in Australia, He reported a large object with bright lights moving at high speed above him, stating it was not a conventional aircraft. His last transmission ended with a metallic scraping sound before silence. A search operation covering both sea and air found no wreckage. Investigators suggested possible disorientation or crash into the water, but no evidence confirmed any conclusion, and the disappearance remains unresolved. The Polaroid clue. A Polaroid photo found months later showed a girl bound and looking toward the camera, and many believed it could be Tara Calico, but it was never confirmed. The 19-year-old from Belen, New Mexico disappeared on September 20, 1988. After leaving home for a routine bike ride along Highway 47, witnesses reported seeing a light-colored pickup truck repeatedly following her route before she vanished.
If there's a car running half on the road, half off, 10 miles an hour in a 55-mile-an-hour zone in a remote location, and it's being reported sometimes it's 20 feet directly behind, it certainly shows an indication that whoever was operating that Ford pickup truck was intent on the young lady riding that bicycle.
Her bicycle and personal items were never recovered. In June 1989, the Polaroid was discovered in a Florida parking lot, showing a young female in the back of a van. Investigators examined the image extensively, but no definitive identification was made. However, netizens believe this is Tara Calico, but even if that was true, it has not helped in finding her. Unexplained bar case. Brian Schaefer was a 27-year-old medical student at Ohio State University who disappeared on April 1, 2006 in Columbus, Ohio after a night out with his friend Clint Florence. Brian arrived at the Ugly Tuna Saloona, which was located inside the South Campus Gateway. Surveillance footage showed Brian at approximately 1:55 a.m. standing near the entrance of the bar, speaking with two women, after which he turned and walked back inside. This moment became the last confirmed sighting of him. Police reviewed all available security footage from the bar and confirmed that Brian was never recorded leaving through the main exit. There was construction taking place in parts of the building, which led to the possibility that he could have exited through an unmonitored area, but no evidence was found to confirm that he used such a route. When Brian failed to meet his girlfriend, Meredith Reed, for a planned trip to Miami later that day, he was officially reported missing. Authorities examined multiple possibilities, including accidental circumstances after leaving the bar, foul play, and voluntary disappearance, but none of these theories were supported by conclusive evidence. His case remains unsolved. CCTV mystery. A man mysteriously vanished into thin air in Dublin during the early hours of the morning. He was no longer traceable on any camera, despite being in an area with multiple surveillance points. That gap in movement became the central issue in the disappearance of Trevor Deely. He was 22 years old and worked at the Bank of Ireland. On December 8, 2000, Trevor attended a work Christmas party and briefly went to his office on Haddington Road at around 4 a.m. CCTV footage inside the building showed him speaking with a colleague before leaving again at 4:03 a.m. Weather conditions were poor, and Trevor was seen carrying an umbrella. At around 4:14 a.m., CCTV captured an unidentified individual dressed in dark clothing who was standing near the entrance of the bank prior to Trevor exiting, and later followed Trevor. Trevor was not seen again after this point. Search operations were conducted across Dublin, including routes Trevor would likely have taken to reach his home, as well as nearby waterways such as the River Liffey, but no confirmed evidence was found. The unidentified individual was identified, but no conclusive link to Trevor's disappearance was established. With the final confirmed footage showing him walking away from his workplace and no clear record of where he went, Trevor simply vanished from the face of the earth. Elevator to water tank. A hotel guest was last seen on an elevator camera behaving unusually, and days later she was found in a location guests could not access. Elisa Lamb, a 21-year-old student from Canada, disappeared on January 31, 2013. while staying at the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles. Elevator CCTV from that day showed her pressing multiple buttons, stepping in and out, and reacting to something not visible. She was not seen again. On February 19, guests reported issues with water. That's when the staff found her in a rooftop water tank. Authorities concluded there was no evidence of external involvement, but to this day, no one has been able to explain how she gained access to the rooftop, why wasn't she seen, and why was she behaving so erratically. Cold 911 case. A 911 call described a situation that responders could not fully understand.
911 emergency.
Yes, I'm in the middle of the field. It's like we're just pushed some guys over. Right here going towards Javelin on both sides. My truck ran out of gas. There's one car here. You got to take the pictures to the woods. Quick furnace.
And when they arrived, Brandon Lawson was no longer at the scene. The 26-year-old from San Angelo, Texas, disappeared on August 9, 2013, after leaving home late at night following an argument and running out of fuel on Highway 277 in Bronte. He contacted his brother for help and also placed a 911 call reporting an urgent situation, though details in the call were unclear.
Okay, now run that by me.
When I talked to him, I surely ran into him.
Ah, you ran into him, okay.
That's the first guy.
You need an ambulance?
Yeah, no, I need the call.
Okay.
When his brother and a state trooper arrived, Brandon's truck was found, but not him. His phone later lost signal in the area. Searches were conducted across nearby land, but no clear evidence explained his movements after the call, and his case remained unresolved for years before partial remains were later located in the region.
Is anybody hurt? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Mother's last act. A handwritten note from the mother of Timothy Pitson stated that he was safe, but no one would ever find him. The 6-year-old from Illinois was taken by his mother, Amy Fry Pitson, on May 11, 2011, after she removed him from school. Over the next 2 days, she traveled with him across multiple locations, including a zoo and a water park, with surveillance confirming he was with her. On 13th of May, however, she was found deceased in a motel room in Rockford, leaving behind notes. She said that Timothy was with someone who would care for him and that he would not be located. Despite extensive search, he has never been seen, and not even a rumor of his existence has ever been reported. Disappearance of Spierer.
Today marks 7 years since Indiana University student Lars Spierer disappeared in Bloomington. And despite thousands of tips, we still don't know what happened to her.
Multiple cameras tracked her movements across the night, but the final minutes were never fully accounted for, and Lars Spierer disappeared within a short distance of her apartment. She was just 20 years of age and a student at Indiana University when she was last seen in the early hours of 3rd June 2011 in Bloomington. After spending the night with friends, surveillance showed her walking without her shoes and phone after leaving an apartment on College Avenue around 4:30 a.m. She was last observed heading in the direction of her residence, which was only a few minutes away, but she never arrived. Individuals she had been with were identified and questioned, but no charges were filed. Extensive searches produced no physical evidence, and her disappearance remains a total mystery. So what do you think happened to her? Share your theories in the comments below.
What they want now is to find her body and to figure out what happened that night.
Panama Trail disappearances. What happened to Chris Kremers and Lisanne Froon remains a horrifying mystery. The 2 students from the Netherlands disappeared on April 1st, 2014, near Boquete, Chiriquí, after setting out on the Pianista Trail. Initial photos showed them progressing normally, but shortly after, emergency calls were made to local numbers, continuing intermittently over days with no connection. Weeks later, a backpack belonging to Lisanne was found containing phones and a camera. The devices revealed a sequence of night photos taken in darkness and incomplete phone activity logs. Partial remains were later located in the area as well. Authorities suggested they became lost, but the timeline, the pattern of calls, and the recovered images made no sense at all. Many people said they encountered someone or a tribe, and they took them away. No one can say exactly what might have happened to them, but it wasn't good for sure. The vanishing prosecutor.
Years later, the mystery continues into what happened to former Center County District Attorney Ray Gricar. It was a decade ago today when Gricar was reported missing.
Ray Gricar, the 56-year-old district attorney of Center County, Pennsylvania, disappeared under mysterious circumstances on April 15, 2005. He was last seen leaving his office in Bellefonte around 10 a.m., and later that day, his car was found abandoned along a remote road with his wallet, phone, and laptop missing. Investigators discovered no signs of struggle or forced entry in his office or vehicle, and surveillance footage offered no clear explanation of his movements after leaving work.
In recent days, we reached out to a number of people who were close to Gricar, close to the case. Many of them simply didn't want to talk about it. Others just shook their head when we asked about Gricar.
Authorities considered multiple possibilities, including voluntary disappearance, foul play related to his professional work, or accidental causes. But then, his county-issued laptop was discovered in July in the Susquehanna River. Found under a bridge near his abandoned car, the laptop was missing its hard drive, which was later located nearby, but it was too damaged for data recovery. Unlike his car and laptop, Ray Gricar has never been found.
For a long time, the Bellefonte Police Department headed up the Gricar investigation. It was just a few weeks ago when the Bellefonte Chief, Sean Weaver, told us, bottom line, law enforcement doesn't know what happened to Ray Gricar.
Unfinished journey. Stephen Kocher from Colorado was 35 when he disappeared in December of 2009. He had traveled alone to Las Vegas when on 13th of December, surveillance footage captured him walking through the Summerlin neighborhood around 10:30 p.m. He was clearly disoriented and carrying a backpack. Earlier that day, he had checked into a hotel on East Sahara Avenue and made phone calls to family expressing stress over financial and personal issues. His car, a white 2001 Cadillac, was never located, and his backpack, wallet, and personal belongings were also missing. Now, despite all of this, some evidence should have been found. But unfortunately for Stephen, investigators and locals found nothing at all. It's like he vanished into thin air. A lot to consider.
And that's true here in the mountains with the Zeb Quinn case. 12 years ago, the teenager was last seen in Asheville after he left work.
Zeb Quinn from Charlotte, North Carolina, was just 18 when he disappeared on January 2, 2000, and under mysterious circumstances, no less. He was last seen leaving his job at a restaurant on Park Road around 11 p.m. and then stopped at a parking lot to retrieve a car for a friend. Surveillance footage and witness statements indicated he never returned home. His car was later found abandoned with no personal belongings inside. Investigators discovered inconsistencies in the story of a co-worker and friend, Johnny Owens, who was the last person to see him. Owens gave inconsistent statements and was charged with tampering with evidence after admitting to moving Quinn's car, but he was never charged with anything due to lack of direct evidence. Police discovered that Quinn had been involved in disputes over work and owed money to a friend, which fueled theories about foul play.
So many other pieces of information that we have that lead more to the probability of foul play.
People on Reddit do have some interesting things to say. I'll give you time to read these two comments. But Quinn's whereabouts remain unknown, and the case is still unsolved. Lost on a rural road. Brandon Swanson's final words came over the phone as he tried to navigate pitch-black fields and unfamiliar roads, and after that, he vanished completely. The 19-year-old from Marshall, Texas, got his car stuck in a ditch near Porter, Minnesota on May 14, 2008. He called his parents around 1:30 a.m. asking for help as he got lost, but his parents didn't know this was the last time they'll ever hear their son. Soon, Brandon became confused and disoriented in the dark, and the call was cut off completely. Search teams scoured the area, checking fields, waterways, and wooded paths for days, but found no trace of him. He still remains missing even after all these years. If your car ever gets stuck in a ditch, if it's safe, remain inside and call a towing company. If it's not safe, then remain close to your car and call 911 as well. Cruise ship disappearance. Rebecca Corium, 24, from the United Kingdom, vanished on March 22 in 2011 while working aboard the Disney Wonder in the Bahamas. CCTV showed her in a crew corridor early that morning after the call, but she was not seen again. That internal phone call recorded her sounding distressed, and her flip-flops were found on deck. Ship records confirmed she missed her scheduled shift, but the vessel continued its route before the disappearance was formally reported. An investigation was conducted, but no definitive evidence explained whether she went overboard, left voluntarily, or was involved in another incident. Forever walking away. A driver caused a direct collision on an open highway, stepped out without seeking help, and left everything behind, including her identity. This is the mysterious disappearance of Patricia Meehan. After driving the wrong way on Montana Highway 200 near Circle and striking another vehicle head-on, the 19-year-old walked away despite offers of assistance. She was clearly disorientated and avoided talking to concerned passerbys. Her purse, clothing, and personal belongings were found inside her car, and there were no signs she planned to leave. In the months that followed, multiple sightings were reported across Montana and neighboring states, often describing a woman matching her appearance, hitchhiking, and showing confusion, but none were confirmed. Since August 20, 1970, Patricia has been spotted multiple times, but never found. It is possible that due to the collision, she faced some sort of memory loss. It could have pushed her to become an entirely new person with new or no memories. Disappearance of Phoenix. Her car was found running in the middle of a quiet street with the door open, but Phoenix Colden was nowhere nearby. The 23-year-old from Spanish Lake, Missouri, disappeared on December 18, 2011, after leaving home around 3 p.m. in her black Chevy Blazer. Shortly after, the vehicle was discovered abandoned with the engine still on, her purse, phone, and personal items inside, and no signs of a struggle. There was no surveillance footage clearly showing what happened after she left. Investigators noted she had recently withdrawn from college and had limited contact with friends, but no confirmed reason for her disappearance was established. Searches of nearby areas and follow-up leads produced no evidence, and no verified sightings have been reported since, leaving her case unresolved. Most enduring case. The 17-year-old from Scotia, New York, disappeared on June 27, 2004. After leaving a party around 11:30 p.m., he was last known to be heading home along a path near the Mohawk River, a route he was familiar with. The next day, his bike and cell phone were located along the trail, but there were no signs of a struggle or disturbance. Investigators searched the surrounding wooded areas, riverbanks, and nearby neighborhoods, but no physical evidence was recovered. His unexplained vanishing became one of the capital region's most enduring missing person cases and remains under active investigation by the New York State Police. Solo ride vanishing. He set out for a solo bike ride and never returned, leaving behind only his bicycle and personal belongings. Robert Horihan, 54, from Hudson, New York, disappeared on October 30, almost 10 years ago, after leaving home in the late morning. He was last seen riding along the Hudson River waterfront, a route he frequently used. His bike was later found abandoned near a local park with no signs of struggle, and his phone and wallet were missing. Authorities conducted searches of surrounding trails, the river, and nearby roads, but no evidence of his whereabouts was found. Despite multiple tips and follow-up investigations, Robert Horihan has never been located, and his disappearance remains unresolved. Back in 2 minutes. The 52-year-old antiques dealer from Llangollen, Wales, opened her shop on June 16, 1990, and around 12:40 p.m. left a handwritten sign reading, "Back in 2 minutes." But Trevelyan Evans would never be back. She was seen buying an apple and banana, and then a final confirmed sighting occurred near her home on Market Street at about 2:30 p.m. Her dark blue Ford Escort was found later with keys in the ignition, her handbag and jacket inside, and cash and flowers she had planned to take home. There were unconfirmed reports of a woman matching her description, walking out of town and near the river, but none were verified. Police interviewed hundreds of people. checked over 700 vehicles and searched rivers, fields, and woodlands, but never found her. A mystery man seen with her before she disappeared was drawn up and circulated, but was later ruled inaccurate, and possible connections to other suspects were examined and dismissed. No trace of her, her whereabouts, or any confirmed evidence has ever emerged, and her disappearance remains one of the most baffling unsolved cases in the UK. Glenn Miller. The famous American big band leader, Glenn Miller, disappeared on the 15th of December, back in 1944, while traveling from England to Paris aboard a U.S. Army Air Force single-engine UC-64 Norseman aircraft during World War II.
Looked like the kind of airplane that Glenn Miller disappeared in. He called the Coast Guard, described it. They said, well, if it's a World War II airplane, it might be a war grave. Just get rid of it.
He vanished over the English Channel in poor weather, and no wreckage or remains were ever recovered. Miller's disappearance sparked speculation about mechanical failure, bad weather, or other wartime hazards, but nothing was confirmed.
The only way to change mystery to history is to come up with solid documentation.
Despite investigations by the military and aviation authorities, his fate remains unknown, and his disappearance is still considered one of the great unsolved mysteries of aviation. Quiet apartment case. Kaylin Lauder disappeared from her apartment with no sign of forced entry, and her belongings were left behind, which made the timeline difficult to explain. The 30-year-old from Murray, Utah, was last seen on 27 September 2014, after attending a church meeting and returning home. Phone activity later that evening suggested she was using it normally, but she stopped responding soon after. When she was reported missing, all essential belongings were found inside, and there were no signs of forced entry or struggle. Nearby surveillance did not clearly show her leaving the building. Investigators searched the area extensively, but no confirmed sightings or evidence explained her disappearance, and her case remains unsolved. Open discussion. Fiona Pender was 25 years old and 7 months pregnant when she disappeared from her flat on Church Street in Tullamore, Ireland on August 23, 1996. She had spent the day before shopping with her mother for baby clothes and was described as happy and looking forward to becoming a mother. At around 6 a.m. on the day she vanished, her partner, John Thompson, saw her at the flat before leaving for work, and Fiona was never seen again. Her passport, clothing, and credit cards were left behind, and there were no signs of a struggle. Garda Síochána, the National Police and Security Service of the Republic of Ireland, launched extensive searches of canals, rivers, bogland, woodlands, and surrounding areas, but found no trace of either one. Early in the investigation, witnesses reported seeing 2 men carrying a large rolled object into the back of a vehicle near the time she disappeared, and another reported a 4x4 driving at speed toward the Slieve Bloom Mountains, but these leads did not lead to a resolution. Fiona's partner and his family were once arrested for questioning, but released without charge. No one has ever been convicted in connection with her disappearance. For years, the case was treated as a missing person inquiry, but in 2025, Gardaí reclassified it as a murder investigation and began fresh searches of open ground in County Offaly based on new information, though her remains have still not been located.